Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, dining time is here. That's right, we're talking Hannibal, the television series, on episode 0 of Kill by Kill presents Dish by Dish. Well, greetings and salutations, people. This is the Dish by Dish podcast, our little side project where we talk about the one-time NBC procedural, I suppose, Hannibal. And, of course, there's only one person that I trust that if I need to season my meat with fear, she'll help me accomplish it. The one, the only Gina Radcliffe. How are you doing today, Gina?
What is your preferred blend for fear seasoning?
Oh, wigging people out. Cat scares is a big one, especially if you didn't even know a cat lived in that house, or creating a statue of human corpses.
Always a winner. Always a winner. Yeah. I was looking over the episode list of this, and the phrase "human totem pole" always jumps out at me.
Yeah.
I love that phrasing. It's and it absolutely is as horrifying as it sounds.
It's a crazy great show, and I suppose what we should reveal at this point is, listen, we don't really know what's happening in the world right now. We made plans. God laughed heartily at those plans. And while Gina might not remain in the same state of lockdown that I'm headed towards again, I
have ample free time on my hands right now.
And we were talking about, we had done some extra episodes that we were just dropping in that were more informal conversations than our regular, heavily researched multi-episode deep dives. How could we, what could we talk about that would be fun for us, that would just be a quick, easy, delightful conversation to have? And lo and behold, Netflix got all 3 seasons of Hannibal on there.
And we're going to have a lighthearted convo about a man who kills people and eats them.
Only the rude people, Gina. Only the rude people.
As it should be.
As God intended. And so it just happened, right? It seemed like a good thing to do. So we're going to try to do this. And we're going to try to do this for as long as we can. On the off weeks that mainline Kill by Kill doesn't come out, we will have a looser conversation than our normal produced episodes about Hannibal, 1 episode at a time. And I guess the goal here is to just relive it, see what we love about it, see if we love it as much the second time around. Because I don't know about you, but I have great remembrances of it. I really love the show, but I have not watched it again since it went off the air.
Yeah, no, this would be a second watch for me as well.
And I have a sort of odd history with Hannibal in that it was one of the things we briefly worked on for NBC to promote once upon a time in radio form, which we don't do a lot of radio stuff. And yet, lo and behold, we worked on this. And I just remember at the time watching it and going, there's no way they're going to let this be on TV. It's so crazy. And then it was on Friday nights at 10 p.m.
Oh yeah, I mean the generally the running theme of this show is I can't believe they got away with that.
It should be noted that I also have this weird symbiotic thing with the showrunner and show creator here, Brian Fuller, in that I think his second show for network TV was Wonder Falls. And it came on Fox, and we were at Fox when it was on there. So that was the thing that we actively promoted. I just remember watching that show and going, this doesn't seem like anything else on television. And almost everything he creates is, once again, not like everything else on television. He's so good at creating something that just feels entirely hatched, a real universe that you don't have to over explain. It just exists and you can get lost in it.
Yeah, I was very disappointed to hear that he is no longer associated with the the TV development of the Vampire Chronicles.
Yeah.
Cause which seems like it's now in development hell at this point. But when it was announced that he was attached to it, I'm like, holy shit! It's like, I'm kind of picky when it comes to television, and it's not often that I see like recent shows that I feel were made exactly for me with me in mind were probably Legion and Fargo. So it's a rare thing, and I'm like, oh, no other TV show will have been made especially for me as much as this will be. And then he dropped out, and I was very sad.
Oh, well, I think he kind of has this weird history of stuff like that, because he was supposed to be part of that Star Trek relaunch on CBS, and then he didn't quite make that cut, and NBC had hired him to create Mockingbird Lane, which was like a different version of the Munsters, and that never flew. And it's like, it's hard to believe that someone could be so good at TV and be such a bad fit for TV.
I mean, I can only assume it's, people got to look at Hannibal. I was like, we don't think we can do that again.
It's a miracle it happened at all, quite frankly.
And I feel like if they made it now, it would just go directly to Netflix or FX, where they could just go over the top, with the gore, and they do go over the top with the gore, like way more than I'd ever seen or have seen since on network television.
Yes, it's far and away the goriest thing I've ever seen on network TV. It's crazy what they got away with. I guess some of it had to do with the fact that it was co-financed, right? So you had all this European financing to develop it, and they had pre-sold it to all of these territories overseas. And so you're kind of making a TV show for two markets, and the NBC never really had to pay for very much. They just kind of like, okay, we'll show that and we'll give you a little cut here, but they didn't have to pay to make it. And so all the things that you probably would have had NBC going, no fucking way, you don't have here, because they're not really in charge, other than the fact that once they said no to airing any more episodes, they didn't make any more episodes.
Yeah, they probably had Standards and Practices had Brian Fuller's phone number on speed dial.
Yeah, I don't doubt that.
Like, hello, did you have someone wearing someone's skin? That's not gonna do.
Where are the mushrooms are growing out of someone's head? I'm sorry. You're going to show that? They're impaled on horns, and we're going to see that? That is something we're going to see on camera?
Which is interesting, because the first two movies in the Hannibal Lecter series, well, I mean, Manhunter and Silence of the Lambs, are not super gory. They're pretty low key. I mean, granted, in Hannibal you have someone being hung on his own intestines, and of course you have Mason Verger, who also shows up in this, who later slices his face off with broken glass. So that one kind of was a little over the top, and I think that's why a lot of people didn't like it, because when you compare it to the earlier two movies, and certainly to Silence, it was way different in tone and style, and then you watch this and it's like, oh, okay, that's more closer to that than Silence, although not shitty and having characters do things that are completely out of left field.
Yeah. The one thing that I remember so much from the original run of Hannibal is how just operatic the entire thing is. It's just huge. It's big emotions. It's big gore. It's, big, giant sequences, and just everything is played to the back of the house. And you just don't get that. And this feels like everyone knew exactly the type of tone to hit. They just hit the ground running with these performances and these episodes. It's again unlike anything that was on television at the time.
Right, and and the thing that's funny is it's a very, if you look at the plot on its most basic elements, it's been done before. The troubled detective, kind of has a weird sort of symbiotic relationship with the person he's trying to catch, and the whole, we're not so different, you and I, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it's done so many times and not very well. And here it's just, it's very dreamlike, and there's a lot of eroticism in they're interplaying with each other, and it just, it takes a very, very well-tread trope and makes it into something like you've never seen before.
Yeah. I think what we should do is sort of outlay what our goals here are. So, the next time that we join everyone for Dish by Dish, we will be talking about episode 1 of Hannibal. And we will, I think, try for the most part not to prognosticate things that we know will happen in the show. We'll only talk about the things that happen within that particular episode. I think for people who haven't seen Hannibal, in the hopes that they can watch along with us. And maybe we have a spoiler section at the end, or perhaps we table the spoiler section to some place like our Facebook group where people can talk about it in more detail there, as opposed to where it's just forced to enter their ear holes. Do you think that's how we should operate?
Yeah, I mean, if we would love it if people who listen to our podcast, who have not watched this, would watch along with us. So, I think that it would be, I would have more of an interesting interaction. So we'll try not to spoil anything. We'll try not to. I mean, yeah, I did already say that Mason Verger shows up as a character in this eventually, but I won't tell you when.
Yeah,
and I won't tell you under what circumstances. But yes, he does show up eventually. And
Mason has appeared in other.
And yeah, if you've seen the movie Hannibal, he is a important, extraordinarily grotesque character in that in both the movie and the book, and in this, he's just horrible in every possible way.
Deliciously so, and I think delicious is a word we're going to use a lot.
Yes. And not just because of the way the food is plated and photographed in this show.
Yes, and so many, and the cast in this is insane. Just how cool everyone is in this movie.
Yeah, it's an incredibly sexy cast.
Yeah, it really is.
I mean, I will spoil you and say that I will mention only actors that show up. At some point, you have Raul Esparza. Mm-hmm. And other time you have Richard Armitage, and I just my on my face like what huh yeah. What it's just like a handsome off, and that's even without Mads Mikkelsen and
Hugh Dancy,
and just like so many chiseled jaws.
Yes, and Gillian Anderson showing up. Oh my God, she's so good in this.
So everything much
about it is so good.
Everybody just very, very smoldering serial killer procedural.
Yes. And if you have seen it before, we'll try to, that's great. I think you'll be prepared. Please watch along with us because it's only gonna come out every other week.
It's a rewatchable show. I fully expect there's going to be, of course there's going to be things that we missed the first time around that we're going to, things that are, kind of, predict things that are going to happen in future episodes, even just, again, something we specialize in, weird little background stuff.
Yes.
So, we'll intend to keep focusing on that while not making every episode an hour and 45 minutes long.
No, I think we're going to really aim to have this be loose and fun back and forth and, maybe 30, I don't think we should have episodes that are longer than the episode we're talking about.
Yeah, they clock in around 43 minutes each. So yes. we should.
I don't want to force somebody to watch 39 episodes of a show just before we talk about the first episode.
No. We're going to take it one at a time.
Yeah.
I cannot. I am not very good at binge watching things, so just watching it once or twice per week is just fine for me.
Yeah, and I also didn't want to double up I just like, let's give it, let's let it breathe. Like, we'll see what happens.
Let's open it up. Let's open it up like a bottle of fine wine.
Yeah, baby. Yeah. Let's just pour it over something that looks like pork, but it actually could be a human being.
Who can say?
Who can say?
It's delicious either way.
And so that just about does it. So if you, it's not just on Netflix. It's just, if you happen, most people have Netflix, right? But if you want to just, I think I bought it, on Amazon. I think it was on sale, the whole series, for $25. So it's not the only way to watch it if you don't want to spring for Netflix just because you don't. But there are DVDs and Blu-rays available of the entire series. So it's not just locked into one location if you can't get to it. But it's also not so hyper expensive that it puts it in a different stratosphere if you want to watch along. And yeah, that just about does it for this week. I'm super excited about this idea.
Me too.
Yes. And so next week we'll be back at it with Bride of Chucky. We got a great episode there. We're going to wrap things up with Volume 2. And then Episode 1 of Dish by Dish. So if this appeals to you, please watch along with us. Please share the tag on Twitter. And let's see what we can do with the show. We're going to start guestless for a little while, I think, just so we can get a handle on what we think Dish by Dish is. And then we'll see what happens after that. But that just about does it for us, Gina and I. So until next week for Bride of Chucky Volume 2, bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.